Alright, so continuing on with our wiring portion here, what we need to do now is, remember we talked about wiring our battery. So wiring our battery, if we want to run battery in parallel, that's why we put the two connections in there. Again, you can see I've given myself plenty of wire because this has to run from here all the way over to our main switch, and then we have to have our end going to our battery, the battery on the solar charge controller. Okay, so we have to have all that. So that's why that's so long. And again, it's just to give myself plenty of wire, so in case we got to cut, splice, fix, repair, whatever you got to do to it, I have plenty. So what we need to do, as you see here on our positive wire, I spliced it to give myself some extra room there, and I'm getting ready to splice another one, because what we need to do is, just as we have two connections for the battery on the other end for here to connect two batteries, we also have to have our positive wire to connect two batteries. So the easiest way I've found to do this, and it is soldering, but it's not soldering in a traditional sense. I use these little things here. They're solder seal wire connectors, and I got them off Amazon from Wi-Fi. There's other ones out there, you can get them cheaper or whatever. But what they have is they have a little silicone protective sleeve. They have two moisture barriers, these little colored rings, and then here's your easy melt solder here in the middle. So all you do is you take the appropriate size for the wire you're using. You don't want it to fit too snug because you might mess up the little moisture barrier wires. So all you do is you take them, you just put one on the wire, and I just crimp it like that so it don't slide off while I'm working with it. You take your two wires, and there's a number of ways you can do this. Some people like to push them together. Some people like to twist them. I really haven't found that it makes much of a difference either way. But what I do is I tend to use just kind of like push them together and let the two wires come together. But because this wire is a little flimsier than this is a little more stiff, I do take and kind of hold the wire here a little bit, so it'll still go in and mesh with the wires. It kind of holds it in place a little bit. Now what you want to do, and you don't really have to twist this. I guess you could if you wanted to. I don't really twist it much. I just make sure it's seated all the way up against there as far as I can get it. And I take my little connector here, and I'm very careful to make sure that I've got all the wires inside there and nothing's fraying out. Once I have that in there, I'll put it like that to hold for just a second. Get out the old heat gun. This never works out well because it gets hot and I always burn my finger or something. But anyway, we're going to try to do this way. So you got your heat gun. Once you've got you want the solder ring right in the middle there, right in the middle of your wires. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. But you want your solder ring right in the middle of the wires. Okay, and you can just kind of hold it there. Turn on your heat gun. It's supposed to be low melt. It's supposed to be low melt or low heat solder. I found that it takes a little bit of time for it to melt, so you have to be careful. Don't put it right up close to this thing because it will melt that and start burning it. But you want it close enough where it's going to get the heat and get hot enough to melt the solder. Before I burn myself with this thing, I'm going to take this and set this out of the way. But you can see it kind of melted in there a little bit. It takes a while to get that stuff hot enough to melt. But it did come out there. I can see some silver in there. So we're good. So now you just set it right there, let it cool off. You can start working on your other end of the wire, because what I do, you don't have to do this. According to the way these products are made and used, that should be a good enough seal. And as you notice, when I was over the heat gun, I was kind of twisting it and turning it, and I was trying to get that seal all the way across. I see missed a little bit there, but that's okay. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back across it with this heat shrink, and this heat shrink is lined with another layer of like a moisture protector, and you'll see as it shrinks down, some of that will come out the ends, and that seals it off, so it makes it waterproof. So what I do is once I have that solder done, I go back over the top. Let's see how hot that is still. Yeah, it's still a little bit warm. Yeah, it's not too bad. So then, once it's cooled off, and you can feel it to the touch. I mean, don't grab a hold of that thing and hold on to it, because it still is warm. But it's cool enough now where we can touch it. So all I do is I take my heat shrink, and I go back over it. Just a little bit there. Okay, there we go. And then so what I do, I just cover that up again. The reason why I do this, I'm just lengthening my wire, because I'm gonna have two connections just like that here, but I'll do that in a second. So I'm just lengthening the wire on the battery side. So to set that in place, all right. So we let that cool off. So now what I'm going to do for this other end is I need this connection. So I know, because I have a big wire, I'm going to need two pieces. So where I just made that splice, I'm going to take that down there and I'm going to cut that right there, because that's going to give me plenty to work with. So all I'm going to do is, once I have my extension here, and again this is to go across the battery of the box, you'll see it here in a second. I'm going to strip this end. I'm going to take my other wire from my other extension piece. I'm going to strip that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to twist these together. Now again, this is heavier gauge wire. So I'm going to twist these together. As tight as I can get them. And then we're going to need I'm probably going to need a yellow, maybe two yellow connectors. I don't know. Let's see here. See how it goes. I've got some different ones I like, and other ones are not that good, so I don't like using them. But I'm running out of the good ones. Alright, so I got two there. A couple of blue ones, just in case I can use a blue one. But again, the diameter of your wire is going to dictate the color of terminal you use. So we've got a 2-wire connection here. I know it's not going to fit in the red. I know that. It may not fit in the blue. That's just too thick, so I'm not going to take the chance of messing up one. I'm just going to go with the yellow. Alright, so get that in there. So we're going to preload our crimper. Yeah, I don't know why this thing's not sitting right, but for some reason it's just going crazy. I don't know if it don't like my crimps or what, but one click. Alright. So what that's going to do is going to hold our crimp or our terminal in place so it doesn't move. Then we're going to take our wire and go in slowly so we don't get any wires fraying out and going crazy. Yeah, it's not tight enough yet. There's still a little resistance in there. So all you do is grab it and just kind of get it as tight as you can, small in diameter as you can. And then if you get it right, it'll go in there. So your grimper is holding it so you can push on the wires here to make sure your insulation is inside your cap of your terminal. Push it in. There we go. Now it's locked in there. And then you can finish crimping it. Okay. Always give it a good pull test. And what I do is I take both wires and I pull both wires and then I hold both wires together and pull that. There's nothing loose in there, but for my own safety's sake, I take it and I crimp it just a hair more. Just a little squeeze. And then I look at my ends. The ends are nice and tight. They didn't do anything. It didn't over crimp it. Didn't bend them. So I know that's good. So now on this one, I'm going to take my strippers. Get back a little bit. And I gave myself a long enough wire here. I mean, you see it's long here. But most of this is going to come inside your board, right? It's still plenty long enough. I mean, I could have cut it shorter, but it's okay. So you're going to have your two here. And then we're going to make this one over here a single connection. So we should be able to use blue. We'll try it and see. Yeah, went on nice. Good. So we come over here, load up our crimper. One click. Now it's in there. So you take your single in very carefully so no wires fray. Get it in there, rotate a little bit if you have to, and make it fit right. Boom, it went right in there. And just crimp it down. Now that's kind of a loose feeling crimp, so I know it's going to, well, I shouldn't say I know it's going to be loose, but it could be loose. It feels pretty good. Against my OCD and safety sake, I'm going to take that and just using the red here, I'm going to take that and crimp it down just a little bit, just to make sure that wire is in there and it's crimped. So again, hold the wire, pull the terminal, hold the terminal, pull the wire. Good. Okay. So now we're ready to wire our battery in parallel with our ground wire and our positive. So we have plenty. Probably more than what we need, but it's okay. Now we can take the rest of our wires here and we can get ready to wire in our lid. Now, let's set this out of the way for a second. So the lid, kind of like the panel, you're going to have a bunch of wires going all crazy, but that's okay because remember we had the plugs, the quick disconnects over there. So here's our Yoltech. Remember we had the out that we didn't plug in yet. That's because it's here. Here we have the ground wire for our white wires, and then we have the extension piece that we needed because I cut it too short. Right, so I have both wires coming into here, into one of the Wago connectors, and that's because I cut them too short. That was on me. And then I run an extension piece to connect to the other Wago connector on the panel. So that's our white wires out of the way, or our white LEDs out of the way. Then here we have our solar charge controller, which is how we charge the box. Here's one of the new connectors I got, so we're going to attach the green light. Our negative for that, our positive for the green light. This goes to our solar inputs on the solar charge controllers, how we charge the box. Let's see what else we got here. Let's get this out of the way so it doesn't get too confusing. So here's our ground and our positive for our red LED. And then here is our ground and positive for our flasher. So now all it is just a matter of connecting your dots. So we take the panel the way it's going to sit. The panel's going to sit like that in the box. I turn it up. I put everything on this side that I'm going to need. And I just set the panel right inside the lids like there, and I back it up against something else. All right. So now I'm working my way again from left to right, so I'm coming back around. So each component now is going to get connected to its it's wiring in the lid, because that's where all the components are connected. So now we're doing wiring the switch to component, which is our middle one. So our glow cup is already done. All right, so where is our flasher negative? Is this, and we put that underneath there for wire management. So there's, I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but there's that one. So all we're going to do is we're going to connect that. Okay, so now our negative to our flasher is connected. And then what we want to do is get our red wire, which is our positive. So we get our positive connection, this quick disconnect. So we've got our red wire from our flasher and our red wire flasher over here. And we're going to connect that. So that's in there. Okay, so those are done. Now we're going to move over to our red LED. Our red LEDs are here. So we're going to connect via this connection here. And that's why this wire is a bare end, because I'm using one of the Wagos. So all you do is stick that in there. Make sure it's fully seated. And then you can check it by flipping it over, and you can see your connection is on the terminals. Your insulation is all the way in. Your wires are on the connectors. You got a good connection. So then this one won't reach. So I'll do that here in a second. But this is your red LED and your red LED positive. Okay. So then we come to our white wire. So this is our white wire. Again, we're using a Wago connector. So we've got two wires into one terminal. We need to get power to it. So we're going to connect that to the Wago, give it a little tug, everything's good there. Okay, and then we've got our negative from our white wires. And that is, if I get this back on the other side there, get stuff out of the way. It's kind of getting a little confusing in there. Alright. That's our terminal there. So, okay, so we got the one here. And then we're going to get our negative wire. Oh, where'd our negative wire go? Here it is. So our negative wire on our white LEDs. Quick disconnect. With those together. So your white positive's connected, your white negative's connected. Alright, these are going to go into the solar charge controllers. We don't need those in the way right now. So next up is our green. So we're going to take the negative. Oh, that's a little bit short, so I'll connect that here in a second. So we'll do the positive first. I think even that one's short. Wow, I cut that way short. So, alright, so I'll have to connect that in a minute. Because otherwise the thing's going to be falling over out of the way and you're not going to be able to see it. So, but anyway, that's how we connect those. Then, moving over to your YOLOTech port. You have again the Wago connector. You have your wire here. So we're going to stick that in there, connect that one. And then we have our positive from our YOLOTech port that needs to be connected. And again here, I apologize guys, but there's just not enough room to do this. So I'm going to have to kind of block this from your view a little bit to get it in there. But I'll try to keep it there as much as I possibly can. So then you just connect your power coming out into your port. Alright, and that goes here. So out of your, if I can get it around there. Okay, so then here is your power in to your to your components. So this is going to go on the load side. So we'll run that through there. These go to the solar port on the solar charge controller, and that's for our solar panels so we can charge. So they go through there like that. And what else we need? We got this one. This goes to our battery. So we're going to make our battery connection down here. I apologize, I know you can't probably see all this, but it's just a tight space, and again, it's my fault because I cut some wires too short. That looks like it's a little loose, so we're just going to squeeze it just a bit, just enough to tighten it up. I'm going to put it on the post. A hair more. There we go. Okay, so we'll put this on the post. There we go, good connection there. Okay, so now we got to run that. Where's the other one at? So here's our other piece. This is going to go to the battery. Alright, so we're going to run that to the middle hole. So that comes out that side. Oop, I missed one. Okay, so we're good there. And then this, we plug this one from our USB port because it's grounding everything. So we're going to finish up that connection. Plug it in there. And then this other one is going to go to our load. Okay, so we got that in there. We got the solar panel, we got our load, and now we just need to get our positive to the battery. Alright, and then so our positive to the battery is over here. Run that underneath there. Come on. Now remember, this is power in, so we're coming into the battery, so it's going to be that top. It's going to be that top lug. All right. So we come over here. Oh, that didn't fit in there at all, did it? There we go. Now it's in there. Okay. We got to get power out, which goes here. So this is our battery on the solar charge controller. So it's going to go through there. Okay. So here we're going to connect this one to the master switch. And remember, this is our power out. So we got our main battery coming in this big cable. That gives us our power into the box. Then we're going to take this one. We're going to use a Wago connector because it disconnects easier. And I know it looks jumbled and crazy, but you're not going to see all this. So we go one to the master switch out, which takes power to here out to the load, and then this one here goes to our power in on the USB port. So the only thing we have left to connect are these two, and they are going to be fiddly because they are just not long enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the best I can. I know you're probably not going to be able to see it because they have big hands. So we're going to connect the green wire to the green wire for our positive to our green LED. That's kind of fraying, so we'll just twist that a little bit. Put that into our Wago connector. And that thing just don't want to cooperate on camera. Get that in there. Alright, and then get a good solid connection there. Then all we need to do is connect our negative for our Yolotech. Quick disconnect. Okay, so everything's fully seated. Everything's connected. And all we're going to do now is just put stuff in place. Okay, so now all we need to do from here is we need to connect everything to the solar charge controller. Because remember, we turn on our master switch, is going to give power to everything. So I'll go ahead and get all this set up, and we'll be right back to test it.